We have all Canadians fighting side by side, including South Asians who are fighting for the side of Canada and for the British Crown. They're not treated the same way at all on the home front. And so the stories are of racism and discrimination. They don't have the right to vote. They can't own land. They're really struggling to be treated equally, and yet at the same time, they're contributing greatly as mill workers, as farmers. Incredible contribution to Canadian society, incredible contribution to the war, but yet this is not documented. You have this interesting situation where, the people who were not as discriminating towards the South Asians were the ones who had fought alongside as fellow soldiers.
Certain people who had roots in India, who had been living there, working there, and most of them were in the British Army. They were probably in power positions. They saw the value of Sikhs, their role in the army, their role as British subjects. And so when the Sikhs first came here, they were given a welcome, but only in their households. My father came here to work as a gardener, as a farmer, but basically a gardener. And he worked for the Spencer family. And Colonel Victor Spencer had a lot of influence in Vancouver. His father was David Spencer. They owned the Spencer stores, which eventually became Eaton stores. Kind of a upper class British family. They have a mansion. The mansion is still there in Spanish Banks area, Locarno Beach by UBC. That family would hired my grandfather and our villagers as their gardeners and as the people who are going to look after their golf course. Now they were higher up in the Jericho Golf and Country Club. So this golf course was not their personal golf course, but it was, upper class British people would golf there. My villagers in those days, in the early, I would say in the 20s, in the 30s, they looked after the golf course. Colonel Spencer had all his gardeners were Sikhs. He valued their hard work, valued their honesty, and valued the work that they did in India. So he helped my father a lot. Gave him a job, gave my villagers jobs, and gave them a place to stay, protected them from the outside world. My father would say he had a turban and a beard at that time, and he said some of the other people in Locarno Beach would make fun of him. And he says that Victor Spencer would walk around the neighborhood and say, "Show me the people who are bothering you." And he says those people never bothered him again.
The personal stories of people living in Canada in this period, in the 1940s, they're really battles. They're fighting because of the color of their skin. They're not visually recognized as being British citizens. They're treated totally differently.
There's another story of my mom's. She had a very good friend there in Rutland. Rutland is a rural area, and it's a farming community. And her best friend was Mary Bull. And Mary Bull has an older brother who was also a good friend of my mom's family. His name was Tony Bull. And they would play together, and they went to school together and study together, very close. And they would also invite her over to their house. They had a beautiful house on the lake. And the father was Captain Bull. He had served in the British Army. He was MLA in Victoria, so he represented that area in Victoria. And when my uncles were getting older and high school age, they wanted to move from Rutland and move into the city, the urban area, just so they could be closer to the schools, not have a hard life. My grandmother had always had a hard life, working on the farm, so had my mother. So they were going to move into the city, save their money, moved in. Real estate agent took their deposit, they bought the house, and they weren't allowed to move in because the neighbors in that community, in that area, didn't want Hindus to be their neighbors. They thought that their property values would drop. The real estate agent did was, he says, you know, you can buy the house, but you're not going to feel welcome there. And my mom then thought, what should I do? So she went to her good friends, Mary and Tony, and their father said, don't worry, we're going to talk to those people. So Captain Bull took my mom under his wing, took the family under his wing, and they went to City Hall and spoke their piece. He said that they were hardworking people, they'd saved their money, the rules were changed just because of the color of their skin, and he wouldn't stand for it. He told my mom that she should make a speech, and he helped her make the speech, and my mom got a little fiery, and she made the speech, and she said that they wanted the same opportunities as everybody else. They wanted to go to the better schools. They wanted all the amenities of living in Kelowna and the city. So the media got a hold of it. It's in the Kelowna Courier. They called her fiery. They called her an Indian, a Hindu, which is not right. She's a Sikh. There's a big difference there. She felt compelled that she had to fight. And so for 2 weeks, they listened to her. They reviewed what she had said. They reviewed what Captain Bull was going to say, because he let her speak. He told her what to say, told her what she had to do. And after a few weeks, the city said they had no legal ground to stand on, and they were allowed to move into that house. So Captain Bull did a lot of the work. He helped my mom's family, helped her and her elderly mom, kept an eye on things, made sure that they got into the right schools, and made sure that they were good neighbors. And they'd already proven themselves to be good neighbors because they had been their neighbors on the farm. So there was never really a good reason for them not to be allowed to move into the city, but that's the way things were in those days.